Welcome to the Intelligence Narrative, where we deliver real-world strategy and intelligent insights to drive your business forward. Podcast for CEOs, founders, executives, and business leaders. ABM VIP Consulting: Clarity, Structure, Growth. Subscribe for more strategic insights.
You know, there's a statistic that just, it kind of haunts the business world. We've all heard it.
Right, at networking events or something, the failure rate.
Exactly. That massive, depressing percentage of startups and small businesses that fail within, the first 5 years? And the stories we tell about why they fail, they're almost romanticized.
Romantic. That's an interesting word for it. How do you mean?
Well, think about the narrative. We say they ran out of cash in this kind of blaze of glory, or the market wasn't ready for their genius.
Or they just didn't have that spark.
Yes. We frame it like this tragedy of circumstance, like the hero just couldn't slay the dragon.
Right. We look for this fatal flaw in the protagonist, but the reality is often, it's a lot more mundane and honestly a lot more preventable.
Exactly. And that's what we're digging into today. We're looking at this really compelling framework from ABM VIP Consulting.
It's their 3 pillars of sustainable business growth.
And their core argument is something that's, frankly, a bit harder for the ego to swallow. They say most businesses don't fail because of a lack of talent or ambition or even good ideas. They fail because they're missing something. Boring. A foundation.
It's the classic building a castle on a swamp problem. You can have the most beautiful blueprints and the best materials, but if the ground underneath is just mud, the whole thing sinks.
I think we've all seen this happen. The source material describes this archetype that I bet will resonate with a lot of people listening. They call it the shiny object founder.
Oh, the shiny object syndrome. Yeah, it's incredibly common, and it's so dangerous because it really mimics what success looks like from the outside.
That's the scary part, right?
Yeah.
So picture this. A brilliant founder, they've got high energy, super creative, just oozing charisma, but their company is operating in total chaos. One day, they're pivoting the entire business to chase AI because they read something on Twitter.
The next day, they're firing the sales manager, and the day after that, they're launching a new product in a market they haven't even researched.
And to everyone else, it looks like high performance because there's so much movement, they're busy, they're sweating, but they're not leading.
They're reacting, just playing a game of whack-a-mole with whatever opportunity pops up.
We should pause on that feeling because I've been in that environment. It's actually kind of addictive, isn't it? That rush of a new idea.
Of course, because the alternative can feel like boredom. The shiny object founder is chasing the dopamine hit of the start. Starting is exciting.
The possibilities are endless.
But executing, building the actual structure, that's a grind. It's not sexy, but the core argument here is that you just can't scale chaos. You might get lucky, but you can't build a future on a series of gambles.
So the mission to this deep dive is clear. We want to understand the blueprint that separates a business that's just a series of frantic bets from one that creates predictable growth.
And this framework says it comes down to 3 specific pillars: strategic clarity, operational structure, and leadership execution.
And you need all 3.
You need all 3. It's not a buffet where you just pick your favorite. If you're missing even one, the whole system breaks down in a very specific way.
Okay, let's unpack that. Pillar 1, strategic clarity. I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. Strategic clarity just sounds like corporate speak.
It does sound like a buzzword, yeah.
It's the kind of thing you see on a poster in the break room that nobody ever reads.
Yeah.
You know, we value excellence. Why is this the foundation?
Well, the source defines it much more aggressively than that. They're not talking about a vague mission statement like we want to make the world better. They're talking about utility.
Yeah.
Think about that shiny object founder again. Why are they chasing everything?
Fear of missing out. FOMO. Or they just think more is always better.
Exactly. They don't have a filter. They don't have a true north. Strategic clarity is knowing with absolute precision who your company is, what it does, and this is the critical part, why it matters to a very specific group of people.
So it's as much about what you say no to as what you say yes to.
It's about identity. And here's the really interesting angle the source takes on this. One of the authors comes from a business intelligence, or BI, background, and they make this point that I think is so often overlooked.
What's that?
Without strategic clarity, all your data is just noise.
Okay, I want to dig into that. Because we are obsessed with data. We measure everything, clicks, conversions, time on page. How can all that data just be noise?
Okay, think of it this way. Imagine you're in the cockpit of a 747. You have 1,000 dials in front of you. Altimeter, fuel, wind speed. You have tons of data.
Right.
But if you don't know that your destination is London, which of those numbers actually matters?
Well, if I'm just sitting on the tarmac, I guess none of them really matter.
Or worse, you focus on the wrong one. You start obsessing over the cabin temperature while you're running out of fuel. Without a clear strategy, a destination, you can't tell the difference between a vanity metric that makes you feel good and a key performance indicator that tells you if you're actually winning.
That's a huge distinction. So a vanity metric would be like, wow, this post got 10,000 likes. But if your strategy is selling enterprise software, those likes might be totally worthless.
Completely worthless. You're drowning in information, but you're starved for wisdom. And the consequence of lacking this pillar is that your whole team starts pulling in 10 different directions.
Oh, I've seen that. Marketing is chasing likes. Sales is chasing any deal they can close. Product is building features for a user you don't even target anymore.
And the tragic part is that everyone is working incredibly hard.
Everyone is exhausted. But the company's going nowhere because all the vectors just cancel each other out.
The source uses a phrase here that I think is worth remembering. Clarity turns activity into intentional action.
I love that. Activity versus intentional action.
It's the difference between running on a treadmill and running a marathon. On the treadmill, you're working hard, you're sweating, you're burning energy, but you're not going anywhere.
Intentional action means every single step takes you closer to a specific finish line.
That's it. So pillar 1 is the map. It tells you where you're going. But knowing the destination is just the first step. You still have to get there.
Which brings us to pillar 2, operational structure, or as the source calls it, the machine.
This is the part that the visionaries, the idea people, tend to hate.
I can feel the resistance already. Structure, processes.
Yeah.
It sounds like bureaucracy. It sounds like the Department of No.
It definitely can feel like red tape to a creative person, but the source frames it so well. They say this is where the magic or the mess happens.
The magic or the mess. That's a pretty high-stakes way to describe operations.
It really is. Because you can have the best strategy in the world, that's pillar 1, but without pillar 2, you can't deliver on it consistently. Structure is what makes your success repeatable.
Repeatable. That's the key word. Can you do it twice, 100 times? Without everything breaking.
Exactly. So let's break down the components. The source lists 3 specific elements of this machine. You have processes, roles, and metrics.
Okay, let's start with processes. You said visionaries see this as friction.
Right, but a good process should actually reduce friction. Think about it. If every time you need to invoice a client, you have to reinvent the wheel from scratch, you are wasting so much mental energy.
You're getting bogged down in the how instead of actually doing the what.
Precisely. Processes automate the routine stuff so you can focus your brain power on the exceptional stuff. Then you have roles.
Which seems obvious. You're in marketing, I'm in sales.
You would be surprised. In that chaotic, shiny object environment, roles are so fluid they basically don't exist.
Ah, the classic, we all wear many hats here.
I cringe every time I hear that. It's usually code for no one actually knows who is responsible for what. If 2 people think they own a project, you get conflict. If nobody thinks they own it, it just falls through the cracks.
And the third piece was metrics.
This ties back to the BI perspective. Once you have the strategy, the map, you can define the metrics, the dashboard. These are the numbers that tell you if the machine is actually working properly.
Now, the force points out a common pitfall here, something they call the hero trap. This is when you have the big idea from pillar 1, but none of the machine from pillar 2. So how does the work get done?
Through heroism. It gets done because the founder, or 1 or 2 key employees, stays up until 2 a.m. fixing everything. They personally bridge all the gaps in the process. They use their own charm to apologize to angry clients.
And it feels good to be the hero, doesn't it? You swoop in, save the day, everyone claps, thank goodness you were here.
It's a huge ego boost. But it is absolutely fatal for a business because you can't scale heroism. If your business depends on you not sleeping, you don't have a business.
You just have a really high-stress job.
That's it. That is a harsh but necessary reality check. The machine, the structure, is what allows ordinary people to run the business extraordinarily well. It decouples success from the founder's adrenaline.
You can scale a machine. You can't scale a person. But, and this is where the framework gets really elegant, even if you have a great map and a perfect machine, say a Ferrari, if you don't have a driver, you're just sitting in the driveway.
And that is pillar 3, leadership and execution. The driver.
The source makes a pretty spicy comment here. It says leadership is often mistaken for just a title on a business card.
It's such a crucial distinction. We think of leadership as a noun, like I am the leader. But in this framework, it's a verb, it's an activity. It's about communication, decision-making, and accountability.
And they specifically pair leadership with execution. Why that pairing? Why not leadership and vision or something like that?
Because vision is cheap. A great strategy is too, in a way. The source says the best strategy in the world just stays on the whiteboard if leaders can't move people toward that shared goal.
The implementation gap.
That's it. How many brilliant plans have died on a whiteboard because the leadership just couldn't translate that plan into action? They couldn't get the team to actually care.
This brings us to what I think is the absolute core maxim of this entire deep dive. The source says, people don't follow plans. They follow clarity and confidence.
That's the line. That's the one that stops you in your tracks.
It really did for me. Because we spend so much time trying to make the plan perfect. We obsess over the slide deck, the spreadsheet. We want certainty before we even start.
But people are emotional creatures. We don't rally behind a spreadsheet. We rally behind a leader who communicates with clarity and projects confidence. Someone who looks us in the eye and says, I know where we're going and I know how we're going to get there. Follow me.
So let me ask you this then. Based on that idea, could a mediocre plan that's executed with extreme confidence actually beat a perfect plan that's executed poorly or with hesitation?
In the real world, almost every single time. Because that confidence creates momentum.
That is terrifying for all the perfectionists listening right now.
It is. But think about the mechanics of it. If the leader is hesitant, if they're constantly second-guessing the map from Pillar 1 or tinkering with the engine from Pillar 2, the team freezes. They sense that insecurity. They lose trust. And the machine just grinds to a halt.
So that confidence from the driver is what creates the followship.
Exactly. Execution is a human problem, not a math problem. You have to motivate people to use the machine to follow the map. That's the job of the driver.
So let's zoom out and put it all together. We have the roadmap, which is strategic clarity.
The machine, which is operational structure.
And the driver, which is leadership and execution.
And the argument from ABM VIP Consulting is that when you have all three, you get a formula. Strategic clarity plus operational structure plus leadership execution equals predictable, sustainable, scalable growth.
Predictable. That's the word that jumps out. Because that chaotic founder we talked about at the beginning, for them, growth is always a surprise. Oh, wow, we had a good month. No idea why.
Right. Don't ask me how, but we did it. Let's hope we can do it again next month.
But with these pillars in place, growth isn't a surprise. It's the expected output of the system you've built.
That's the difference between being lucky and being, as the source calls it, unstoppable. When the system is aligned, growth becomes an engineering problem, not a gambling problem.
But they also warn that it's a three-legged stool. Take one leg away and the whole thing collapses.
Let's actually play that out. For everyone listening, think about your own team or company right now as we go through this.
Okay, scenario 1. You have clarity and leadership. You have a map and a confident driver. But you have no structure, no machine.
That is the burnout scenario. Everyone is motivated, the leader is shouting encouragement, but the wheels are falling off because there are no processes. It's just high-energy chaos. And you will lose your best people because they're exhausted.
Okay, flip it. Scenario 2. You have clarity and structure, a great map, and a perfect machine. But no leadership, no driver.
That's a zombie company. The lights are on, the machine is humming, the forms are getting filled out. But no one is going anywhere. It's stagnant. It's bureaucracy without a pulse because no one is driving any change.
And the last one, which feels like maybe the most dangerous, you have structure and leadership, a great car and a confident driver, but no clarity, no map.
Then you are driving 100 miles an hour straight off a cliff.
That's a terrifying image.
It is. You're being extremely efficient at doing the completely wrong thing. You see them in big companies sometimes. They execute flawlessly on a product that absolutely nobody wants anymore.
So you really can't just pick and choose. You have to have the map, the car, and the driver.
And that gets us back to why brilliance isn't enough. Because a brilliant founder is usually only brilliant in one, maybe two of these areas.
Right. They might be a genius at strategy, but terrible with process.
Exactly. Which is why you have to build a team and a system. You build the pillars so the business doesn't depend on one person's brain power. It moves from being personality-driven to being purpose-driven and process-driven. That's how you scale.
You're basically removing the gamble from growth.
You are. It becomes a construct. You can tweak the pillars, adjust the machine, refine the map, but you're not just rolling the dice every morning.
For a lot of people listening, I think this is actually a relief.
Yeah.
It means you don't have to be some kind of magician constantly pulling rabbits out of a hat. You just have to be a builder.
That's a great way to put it. Success starts with a structure. It requires moving past that addiction to chaos and committing to the much harder work of building something with confidence.
Building the boring stuff that makes the exciting stuff possible.
Well said.
So we've covered the roadmap, the machine, and the driver. We've seen how talent without a foundation is just, well, it's just potential energy that's waiting to dissipate.
And we've seen how aligning these three pillars can transform a business from being unstable to being unstoppable.
Before we wrap up, I just want to circle back to that idea of confidence one last time. That quote really stuck with me. People don't follow plans. They follow clarity and confidence.
It's the human element. It's what connects the logic of the plan to the actual result.
And it leaves me with a thought I want you, the listener, to really mull over. We spend so much of our professional lives trying to perfect the plan. We delay, we analyze, we get frozen because we want the data to be 100% certain before we move.
We want a guarantee before we even start the car.
Exactly. But if structure creates the machine and leadership creates the confidence, is it possible that a perfect plan is actually less important than the confidence with which an imperfect plan is executed?
That really is the provocative question, isn't it? If you wait for the perfect map, you might just never leave the driveway.
Something to think about the next time you find yourself stuck in analysis paralysis. Sometimes you just need to trust the machine, grip the wheel, and drive.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's it for this deep dive into the 3 pillars of growth. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
ABM VIP Consulting, clarity, structure, growth. Subscribe for more strategic insights.